that right shoulder, knocking him out of the game in the first half, and he did not return. Big play first half for the Jets. Blair Thomas off the option. Rob Moore wide open for the touchdown as the Brown defense was sucked in. The Browns, however, came back from a 14-0 halftime deficit, 2 third-quarter touchdowns. This one tied it, Kosar to Leroy Horde, but then the Pat Leahy field goal of 28 yards gave the Jets the 17-14 lead, and when the Browns were driving into position for a possible tying field goal, Kosar fumbles in the waning moments. The Jets recover, run out the clock, win at 17-14. They've won a couple in a row. They've evened their record at 3-3. The Browns fall to 2-3, and I understand that Jet receiver Al Toon is standing by in Cleveland. Al, this is Bob Costas in New York. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
You caught 6 passes today for in the vicinity of 90 yards, unofficial numbers. What's your assessment of the way the Jet offense is clicking these days?
Well, in the first couple quarters, we were playing well. The first series, we had a bit of the jitters for some reason, but we finally got ourselves together, and through the first couple quarters, we put some points on the board. Then we went in at halftime and came back out, and we couldn't get anything done the first couple of series, and then finally we settled down again and moved the ball for a nice long drive and kicked the field goal, which turned out to be the winning field goal in the game. I must say that Cleveland came out ready to go, and they put a couple touchdowns on the board, put the pressure back on us to get the job done. I commend them for their efforts. I think it boiled down to who had the ball last, and unfortunately for them, they didn't have any timeouts. We only had 1 timeout left, and I think that shows what that resulted in our victory.
You had the back-to-back crushing defeats. You played more than well enough to win against Buffalo. They pull it out at the Meadowlands. You did everything but win on a Monday night in Chicago, some of the most perverse end-of-game developments that ever befell one team on one night, and that slips away. And then there's all kinds of controversy about coaching decisions or non-decisions. You'd expect that the team would be down. Instead, you come out last week and flatten Miami, go on the road and get a victory today. That has to say something positive about the Jets.
Well, it definitely does. I think we have a new spirit, a new feeling about ourselves. We have a lot of confidence and a lot of confidence in our coaching staff, and we have so much support that when we did have those 2 disappointing losses, we came back. We still had the mental frame of mind to come back and work that week and win the game against Miami. And this week we just wanted to string 2 in a row to try to get something going for us.
Do you think of yourselves as a playoff team, or is that too early to speculate about?
Well,
a playoff quality team.
We'll let you guys make that decision. We're just going to go out and play football.
When you've got a Rob Moore and an Al Toon in the receiving corps, and you go up against defensive backs like Minifield and some of the others for the Browns who are on the small side, I would guess that's always part of the game plan, to try and exploit that size advantage, which you guys enjoy over a number of defensive backs around the league.
Well, it is definitely a factor, but our focus wasn't to exploit the height advantage that we had. We just wanted to take advantage of what they gave us defensively, and we did that, and we came out with the victory, and I'm just happy for it.
Good win for the Jets, Al. Get into the locker room, grab a shower. Thanks for being with us.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, Al Toon of the Jets, 17-14 victors. What were your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts, Bob, are the Jets did come back, you know, and get those 2 wins. They're going to have to put a couple more wins together before they're considered a playoff contender. But I like what I see, especially on the offensive line, especially on the right side. Eatman, White, Sweeney. Now, that's about as good as there is in football right now.
O'Brien wasn't spectacular, but he was effective today.
Well, you see, they got firepower, they got the running game, they got the big play receivers. You know, all they have to do is block for the quarterback like they did today, and they'll get enough done to be competitive.
Yeah, plus they're beating the teams that they should beat. You know, normally you go into the game, I don't think they went into the game thinking they should beat Buffalo or beat the Chicago Bears, and they easily could have won both of those games, and they get to play Buffalo again, and I think they are a playoff caliber football team at this point.
On the flip side, you've got to be pleased by the work done by your old assistant, Bill Belichick, in Cleveland. They're 2-3, but they're competitive in all these games, and defensively they've made a huge turnaround from last year.
I think he's done a good job. Of course, I'm a little prejudiced, but I know that won't satisfy Bill. You know, they're 2-3. He's a little upset that they didn't win these last 2 ball games because they had a chance to win both of them against the Giants and the Jets.
We're going to step aside here for a commercial break. When we come back, we get an advance report from the Coliseum in L.A. The Raiders will host the Chargers in the second half of the NBC doubleheader, and we'll still have time for more scores and highlights if you stay with us. 35-14 lead in the 4th quarter at home over the Denver Broncos. They led 35-0 at halftime when the game was obviously decided in that first half, as John Elway just had a nightmare. There he is along with his coach, Dan Reeves. It starts badly on the first play from scrimmage for Elway, as he's sacked on this play by Sean Jones. Denver forced to punt after their opening drive stalls. It's blocked by Bo Orlando. The kick by Mike Horan recovered in the end zone by Bubba McDowell for the touchdown and a 7-0 lead. Bronco woes continue, trailing already 14-0. Elway will be stripped of the ball by Sean Jones, who obviously had a great first half. Houston recovers on the 13. A bit later, Lorenzo White scores from the 1. Now the shovel pass to Steve Sewell. He loses it. Chris Dishman, having the best year of his career to date, picks it up, runs it in 19 yards for the touchdown. Earlier, he had intercepted one of Elway's passes and brought it back 41 yards to about the 2-yard line. That set up another Houston touchdown. They were up 35-0 at one point. Elway has connected with Steve Sewell for a touchdown, and then they just scored again a moment ago to make it a bit more respectable, but they trail 35-14. OJ.
Houston's only proven what we all suspected, that they're one of the...
Late in the fourth quarter, the Redskins have a pair of Mark Rippon to Art Monk touchdown passes and a pair of field goals by Chip Lohmiller. Neil Anderson, a 1-yard scoring run for the Bears. The Redskins have more or less controlled the line of scrimmage with constant pressure on the Bear quarterback Jim Harbaugh. Looks like Washington will go to 6-0, and the Bears, after a 4-0 start, will lose their second.
Hospital is she in?
Gambles on 4th down. Late in the half, they take the halftime lead at the Coliseum, 14-10 over the Raiders. The Giants have gone to the third quarter at home with a 17-3 lead over Phoenix. And in the first half, Rodney Hampton had 101 yards rushing and a touchdown for the Giants. Earlier today at the Astrodome, a game many of you saw on NBC, Houston all over the Broncos, 42-14. They led 35-0 at halftime, an absolute nightmare for Dan Reeves and John Elway. And it starts on the first play from scrimmage as Elway will be sacked by Sean Jones for a loss of 9. At the conclusion of that possession, the Broncos punt. Mike Horan out of the end zone, scoops up the low snap. Bo Orlando blocks it. Bubba McDowell recovers for the touchdown, 7-0, and the carnage is on. Into the second quarter we go, already trailing 21-0. Shovel pass to Sewell. Steve Sewell coughs it up. Chris Dishman, who earlier had an interception, scoops it up, returns it 19 yards for the touchdown. Houston goes on to win 42-14. Juice?
Well, we all know that Houston's one of the best teams in football, and I think they've been seething for 2 weeks because of that loss to New England. I talked to some of the guys that were unhappy with the way they played, and they was also unhappy with some coaching decisions. The fact that they went to a zone defense, or prevent, I should say, defense at the end of the game. They thought that cost them, but they got to be more motivated on the road. They got to play on the road like they play at home, and I think with Sean Jones now back in camp, Sean looked today like he's ready to play. Of course, Lee Williams was an important pickup for them. They got the defense that they didn't have in the past, and with that offense, as long as Moon is healthy, I think they're right with Buffalo as the best team in the league.
Best team in the conference or best team in the league?
Because I think the Redskins right now may be the best team in football.
Well, that's just where I was headed with this next thing, because they won today at Soldier Field over the Bears. The score was 20-7. Mark Rippon threw 2 touchdown passes to Art Monk. Washington has allowed only 7 points in its last 2 games. They had the Monday night shutout against the Eagles. They have 3 shutouts for the year. More importantly, a 6-0 record. Bears lose their second in a row after opening the season with 4 victories, 20-7 the final at Soldier Field. Incredible game today at the Silverdome in Pontiac. Minnesota led the Lions 20-3 with 6.5 minutes to play. Rodney Peete threw a 68-yard touchdown pass to Robert Clark. That got them close. Then they recovered an onside kick, and back they came. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. Herschel Walker had an injured shoulder, did not play the entire game. Rich Gannon in at quarterback for Wade Wilson. Wilson hasn't played well of late. It's Darren Nelson on the handoff from Gannon, gives them a 7-0 lead. Now, this is part of the comeback. This is after the Clark touchdown and the recovered onside kick. As you see, 4:20 to play as Pete hits Willie Green for the touchdown that brings them to within 20-17. Now, trying to set up for what could be the tying field goal, they do better than that because Barry Sanders is able to jitterbug into the end zone with 36 seconds to play. Following the PAT, the Lions win it by a score of 24-20. What did Sanders do? 4th consecutive week over 100 yards, 25 carries for 116. Great comeback for the Lions. They're 5-1, and OJ is trying to console Bill Parcells, who had picked the Vikings as his upset special.
You know, Detroit's on top of the division. I'll tell you, Bob, what a win like that'll do is that'll give Detroit impetus for 5 or 6 weeks because they'll never think they're out of a game. They were down 17, 6 minutes to go. They come back to win. That's a pretty good accomplishment.
24-20, the final score. Quickly through the rest of them. The Jets over Cleveland today in Cleveland, 17-14. Pat Leahy's 4th quarter field goal from 28 yards out snapped a 14-all tie. Jets had the lead 14-0 at the half. Browns scored 2 touchdowns in the 3rd quarter but fell short. Browns 2-3. Jets even their record at 3-3, and they're playing especially well right now. Tampa Bay comes from behind and beats Philadelphia 14-13. Vinny Testaverde left the game with a chipped bone in his right thumb. In came Chris Chandler. He had 2 intercepted, but he threw 2 touchdowns, including a 5-yarder to Bruce Hill with 1:07 remaining. Tampa scores 2 touchdowns in the 4th quarter. Win for the first time this year. Drop Philadelphia to even at 3-3. 14-13, the final score as the Bucs win it. Miami wins at New England 20-10. Good day for Marino. 2 touchdowns, 321 yards. Dallas over Green Bay at County Stadium in Milwaukee. Cowboys go to 4-2, Pack to 1-5, 20-17. And Seattle beats Cincinnati 13-7. Dallas, Buffalo, and Houston are next, all on the road for Cincinnati. The Bengals are 0-5 and looking at 3 tough road games. An absolute nightmare for Sam Weiss, Boomer Esiason, and the rest, the way this 1991 season is begun.
His running game had been great, but on this day, the Cleveland Browns had the answer. They stuffed Freeman McNeil, and they stuffed Brad Baxter. The Browns' defense second best in the league. So, Jets go to the air on 3rd and 9. Kenny O'Brien rolling out smartly, and a good catch by his tight end. Mark Boyer holds on despite the hard hit from Harlan Barnett. Then Blair Thomas takes the handoff. No, he's going to fire it. The Jets jazzing it up. Thomas, Rob Moore, touchdown, 80-yard drive, 8 minutes and 40 seconds, and the Jets on the board. Bernie Kosar has a pass dropped by Brian Brennan. Could have been a first down. It was O'Brien that had the hot hand. Here to Al Looney Toon, wide open for 39 yards. Kenny O'Brien, 128 yards passing in the first half. Frank Minifield left with a very painful bruised shoulder. X-rays negative. It was not separated. 4th and 5. The Jets going for it. They go to Toon. 2nd and goal. Brad Baxter punches it in at the half. The Jets, that's right, the Jets lead it 14-0. Second half, the Jets can't get the offensive gear. Blair Thomas catches the ball, but Harlan Barnett again on the hit. James Jones going to pick up the ball. Something down to the 5-yard line. That sets up a guy almost as big. Kevin Mack stuffs it in from the 1. 3rd touchdown of the year, and the Jets lead it down to 14-7. Then Kosar to Leroy Hort. 4-yard touchdown pass. We are knotted at 14 in Cleveland. Could the Jets blow another second-half lead? O'Brien to Al Toon. They keep doing it.
Well, once the Cleveland Browns keyed on the running game and lost Frank Minifield, you knew that O'Brien and Toon were going to take advantage going up top, especially when you have the height advantage of an Al Toon as a receiver.
And you get Minifield out. That's the 6th DB hurt this year for Cleveland. They get a pass interference call there. Pat Leahy comes on to boot a 48-yard field goal, and the Jets lead it 17-14. 4th and 1, Kevin Mack searches for a first down. Bernie Kosar hadn't thrown an interception all year, but running with the ball on 3rd and 4, he coughs it up. Mike Brim with the hit. Lonnie Young with the recovery. The Jets hold on to beat Kosar and the Browns. The Jets winning it 17-14. A good ball game played at Cleveland, but the Jets win for the 2nd straight week. Last week, they blasted Miami, and I think, Tommy, a big win for a young football team, and the Jets, they were supposed to win on the road. Young teams often stumble in this situation. The Jets did not.
Good young team with a lot of talent. You know, Mike Dick on a local radio show was asked, what's the best team that you've played this year? And I think everyone thought he would say Buffalo Bills. He said the New York Jets. Why? I think credit to offensive line coach Larry Bechtel of the Jets. He's put together a good unit up front. And even when they don't run the ball well, people know they have the capability. Takes a lot of pressure off O'Brien so that he was able to throw the ball like he did today.
And O'Brien looks good when he has some time. And also, you know the Jets are building. They have excellent skill players. Yes. And O'Brien found a lot of them. And Blair Thomas found another one in Rob Moore. They're on their way. They are 3-3. All right.